She stood at the edge of the grand ballroom's balcony, the glittering chandeliers casting fractured light over her pale face. In one hand, she held a single, blood-red rose. In the other, trembling, she clutched a small card. Below, the city's skyline pulsed like a living constellation, yet she barely saw it. Her gaze fixed on the man in the tailored midnight suit, standing alone by the marble balustrade. He seemed oblivious to the applause and laughter echoing through the hall, a silent sentinel in the center of gleaming opulence. He was Alex Thorne, self-made, steel-nerved, and rumored to have a heart guarded by secrets darker than the night outside. Tonight, he was to deliver a keynote address that would shape the future of his empire tech conglomerate. But she wasn't here for business. She was here for him, though he didn't yet know her name, let alone her story. She inhaled, her breath catching on the rose's velvety petals. Each petal felt like a promise she barely dared to make. Just one rose, one simple gesture to pierce the cold armor he wore so well. She had rehearsed the moment 1,000 times. How to approach without alarming his security detail, how to speak just enough, and then slip away before questions could follow. But rehearsals never account for pounding hearts or the unexpected tremor of fate. He turned, as if sensing her presence. For a heartbeat, her world narrowed to the gleam in his steel-blue eyes. His expression was unreadable, curiosity, suspicion, or something more ineffable. She reached into her clutch, producing the card. Its edges were worn, the ink was faded, yet the words were clear. Forgive me. Her pulse thundered as she stepped forward. Cameras flashed, voices hushed, and for a suspended moment, the crowd ceased to exist. Alex Thorne's gaze shifted from distant contemplation to focused intrigue. The rose hovered between them, petals trembling in the cool draft of the balcony's open doors. She dared to extend her hand. Then nothing. Security agents closed in. She braced herself, expecting force. But instead, Alex raised a hand, halting them as though they were phantoms. "Let her be," he said, voice low, layered with command and curiosity. He took the rose, fingers brushing hers so lightly it could have been a whisper. He lifted the card, read its single word, and tucked both into the breast pocket of his jacket. Before she could speak, the agents recovered their poise. Alex straightened, turned toward the interior of the ballroom, and vanished into the crowd. She remained on the balcony, heart clenched by questions. Who was he to wield such power over them all? And who was she to risk so much for a single, silent plea? As the doors swung closed behind him, she pressed her forehead against the cool marble, the echo of his footsteps still thrumming in the marble corridor. In her pocket, a father's old watch ticked, a reminder that time was both her ally and her enemy. Below, the party carried on, oblivious to the moment that had just passed, two strangers bound by a rose and a question neither dared voice. What was the forgiveness she sought? And would the man who took her rose ever learn its full meaning? Night deepened into a hush of anticipation, and somewhere inside the beating heart of Empire Tech's Titan, something fragile had begun to bloom. Alexander Thorne moves through the world like a man in a finely tailored suit, every step measured, every word calculated. At 36, he is CEO of Empire Tech, a global tech conglomerate he founded in his early 20s with nothing but a scruffy laptop and an unshakable belief that his ideas could change the world. Today, he stands at the pinnacle of success. A penthouse overlooking 4 continents, a net worth in the 9 figures, and a reputation for razor-sharp decisions that make or break entire markets. Yet behind the polished veneer, Alex carries a wound no boardroom victory can heal. 7 years ago, his fiancée, Catherine Beckett, vanished on the eve of their wedding, and along with her went his faith in anyone outside his inner circle. The papers said she ran off, tired of his workaholic obsession. Alex believes something darker occurred. Since then, he's built walls so high even his closest executives call appointments through layers of assistants. He buries himself in spreadsheets and strategy sessions to numb the emptiness where Catherine's laughter once lived. Flaws, Alex struggles to connect emotionally. He chides himself as too logical, too distant, and resents vulnerability. His instinct is to analyze pain away rather than feel it. Goals. He wants Empire Tech's next product launch to be his magnum opus, proof that his legacy will outlast him. Unknowingly, he also yearns to fill the void Catherine left. Internal struggle. Every success is tinged with hollow triumph. Late at night, when the penthouse is silent, he wakes from dreams of a red rose and the memory of a hand he can't identify, slipping a note into his pocket. Elena Hart's world is the opposite of Alex's. Warm, unpredictable, and lived in. At 28, she's a rising star at Petals and Prose, an artisanal stationery and floral boutique in the city's historic district. She designs bespoke arrangements and handwritten invitations for high-profile clients, weddings, art galas, political fundraisers. Yet her own life feels unraveled. Her mother, Miriam, raised her alone after Elena's father abandoned them when Elena was 5. The heartbreak taught her empathy. She listens to people's stories as she crafts each bouquet, matching blossoms to the emotions they struggle to express. She keeps a tattered photograph of her parents in happier times on her bedside table, and every rose she sells is a silent ode to the love she never had. Flaws. Elena misplaces her trust too easily. She yearns for approval, especially from her estranged father, and can become passive when faced with confrontation. Goals. She dreams of opening her own flagship store, one that pairs floral art with storytelling workshops. It would be her tribute to Miriam, who juggles 2 jobs to keep the boutique afloat. Internal struggle. Though she's generous to a fault, Elena fears she's unworthy of true love. Her last serious relationship ended when her boyfriend deemed her too sentimental for his pragmatic tastes. On the surface, Alex and Elena should belong to different galaxies. He in glass and steel skyscrapers, she in cobblestone alleys scented with peonies and ink. Yet the red rose, vivid against his dark suit and her pale hands, hints at something deeper that binds them. Alex's morning routine. Each day, Alex greets dawn from his penthouse balcony. Silk robe tossed over broad shoulders, he juggles espresso and encrypted messages. By 7 a.m., he's lost in boardroom snakes and ladders, the roar of numbers drowning out every personal whisper. Elena's morning routine. Elena begins at sunrise. She opens Petals and Prose's antique oak doors, fingers dusting petals as she arranges blooms, roses, dahlias, orchids, while humming her mother's lullabies. She answers calls with a soft, reassuring voice. Alex's mask of control. He wields control like armor. Making decisions is his language of love, proof that he can protect the world he built. Yet every late-night email to Catherine's abandoned inbox reminds him that some things remain beyond even his mastery. Elena's art of healing. She speaks with color and texture. A rose bud half open could signify hope. A drooping stem, regret. In every arrangement, she pours her longing for stability and her desire to believe in second acts. When Alex accepted an invitation to sponsor Petals and Prose's annual Story in Bloom gala, an event where clients share personal tales tied to their favorite flowers, Elena had no idea the keynote speaker, thrust into the limelight nightly across business shows, would be the man who once refused to even grant her boutique a vendor pass. Neither anticipated the tension of being thrust together. Him, silent and inscrutable, her, all warmth and tremor. Their first interaction. He stands behind a dark-stained banquette near a towering peony installation. She approaches to adjust a wilting stem. He orders security to keep a polite distance. When the spotlight shifts, the only light she notices is his gaze, sharp, calculating, and oddly vulnerable. Emotional questions. Why does he linger here, beyond mere sponsorship obligations? What ache makes him risk showing, even a sliver of interest, in something as ephemeral as a rose? The underlying tension Alex battles 2 conflicting impulses. The instinct to command his environment and a sudden curiosity that Elena's rose arrangements provoke. Every time she brushes past him, her scent a mix of terracotta soil and early morning dew, he feels a tug at something he thought long dead. Elena reads people by their reactions to flowers. With Alex, she senses a hardness that craves something he won't admit, tenderness. Yet her own heart quakes at the thought of offering her trust to a man whose world culls emotions. Professional pressure. Empire Tech's board eyes Alex's foray into patronage as frivolous. They warn him that personal distractions threaten quarterly targets. Elena hears whispers that her boutique's lifeline could vanish if the sponsorship is revoked. Emotional resistance. Alex fears that getting close to Elena will crack his protective shell, unleashing memories of Catherine he can't control. Elena worries that her growing feelings will be crushed by the weight of his empire. Alex's unspoken hope. A part of him wonders if forgiving the unknown sender of the rose might be the key to forgiving himself, and perhaps even Catherine if she's out there. Elena's courageous heart. Each arrangement she crafts is an act of defiance against the loneliness she inherited. If this man can learn to feel again, she reasons, maybe she can learn to open herself and heal her own wounds. Late one evening, the power in Empire Tech's global headquarters flickered. An almost imperceptible pulse of darkness that rippled through the cavernous atrium and swept down the labyrinth of corridors. Alexander Thorne was on the 42nd floor, immersed in final edits for tomorrow's product reveal keynote. Seconds later, the emergency lights kicked in, bathing the lobby in a flickering red glow. Security alerts sounded, and every executive assistant's phone began buzzing with power failure status. Alex rose from his desk, muscles coiled, every instinct sharpened by years of crisis management. He strode to the floor-to-ceiling windows to peer at the city below. Nothing. No smoke. No storm. Only the blinking halo of lights edging each skyscraper, alive, untouched. He jabbed his finger toward the intercom. Status update. His chief of operations, Mara Costas, appeared on the monitor, her face tight with concern. "We're troubleshooting, sir. UPS systems engaged. No signs of fire or structural damage." "Check the server racks," Alex snapped. "If it's a hack, I want real-time diagnostics, and have engineers patch me in." He clicked off before hearing her reply. In the elevator's hush, his mind raced back to Catherine's last night. The lights had gone out in their townhouse, too, right before she vanished. He shook off the flash of memory. Ghosts had no place in Empire Tech's command center. Down in the lobby, he found the floor dark but for the blinking consoles. Engineers surrounded the mainframe glass enclosure, tapping at touchscreens. Alex approached, voice firm. "Isolation logs," a tech swallowed. "There's an anomaly in the backup protocol. Someone diverted power from 3 critical nodes simultaneously. It wasn't accidental." Alex's breath hitched, the word hack suspended in the air. He looked at the engineer's pale face. "Who?" "Unknown. We traced the override signal to a personal device within the building. MAC address registered to your private suite." Alex froze. His suite. The only place he'd given personal clearance. A place no one else accessed. His heartbeat roared with the implication. Had someone slipped into his private haven? Or worse, had he done this himself in a fugue of suspicion? He raced upstairs 2 at a time, adrenaline pushing him faster than elevators could. Outside his suite, security doors chimed. The guard at the station looked up, startled. "Sir, there was a lockout alert. We reset the panel." Lockout alert. His suite's electronic lock should have recognized his fingerprint instantly. He glanced at the guard, who shrugged. Alex swiped his finger. The door clicked open, but felt looser than usual, as if forced. Inside, the suite was immaculate, the minimalist decor, the digital art, the sleek furniture. But on the glass coffee table, something new. A single red rose, its stem curled into a heart shape, lying atop a small white card. Alex's breath caught. The same symbol, the same message. He crouched, heart pounding, and picked up the card. In precise, looping handwriting. "For what you've lost and what you can still find." A memory crashed through him, Catherine's handwriting. The delicate loops and swirls he'd memorized on every love note she'd ever sent. Could she be alive? Was this why he'd been slipping into patterns of late? Dreams of a rose in his pocket, a note he never dared open. The elevator pinged behind him. Mara Costas stepped in, expression grave. "Sir, we traced the override. It came from your suite." She eyed the rose and card in his hand. "This wasn't just a hack. It's personal." Alex straightened, voice low. "I want a full surveillance sweep, floor by floor. No one leaves until we know who did this." Mara nodded, then paused. "Sir, this card matches the one you tucked away at last month's gala. Same rose, same script." He exhaled slowly, anger and longing warping his voice. I thought that was a random admirer. She met his gaze. It's not random. Whoever's behind this wants you to know they can. Reach me anywhere. Alex's fists clenched around the card. Find them. As security mobilized, Alex retreated to the floor-to-ceiling window again. The city stretched out, indifferent to his private turmoil. He slipped the rose into his breast pocket, careful not to crease its petals, and folded the card into his wallet. His heart pounded not with fear of corporate sabotage, but with the sudden prospect that Catherine, or someone impossibly like her, had orchestrated this. All of his meticulous defenses so easily circumvented. Alone in the darkened suite, he traced his finger over the card's cursive letters. What you've lost, and what you can still find. The words echoed a promise and a challenge. His phone buzzed. An encrypted message flagged urgent. He opened it to find coordinates and a time, midnight, at the city pier. No sender name, just a map pin and a single instruction. Come alone. Alex stared at the screen, every rational cell screaming danger. Yet beneath the suit's composed surface, a flicker of hope ignited. This was the moment he'd been avoiding. The external conflict that forced him out of his fortress. A test of control against the pull of the unknown. He pocketed his phone, rose, and card. Tomorrow's keynote could wait. Tonight, he would chase a ghost from his past and confront the possibility that some wounds were meant to heal. And if he didn't, if this turned out to be another cruel trick, he would finally expose the person who dared to breach his defenses. Tonight, the fortress of Alexander Thorne would face its greatest breach, his own heart. Alex slipped from the limo onto the deserted pier, the cargo cranes looming like silent sentinels against the inky sky. His breath made pale clouds in the salty air. In his breast pocket, the red rose pressed into his lapel, still fresh despite the evening's warmth. He glanced at his phone, 11:58 p.m., 2 minutes until the appointed time. Behind him, the soft echo of footsteps. He pivoted, expecting security, but instead found Elena Hart, dressed in a simple coat, hair pinned back, clutching a single map folded into her purse. Moonlight turned her into a silver silhouette. "Mr. Thorne," she asked, voice thin with apprehension. Alex studied her. "You sent the invitation." Elena's lips trembled as she nodded. "I found this card slipped under my boutique door this afternoon." She unfolded a scrap of stationery identical to his own. "For what you've lost and what you can still find. Midnight, Pier 14. Come alone." "Why did you bring the map?" Alex asked, tone flat. Her eyes widened. "Because I thought maybe it wasn't for you, maybe someone else." He reached slowly and pried the map from her hand. "Only 3 people here know that card, you, me, and whoever wrote it." He glanced at her hands, trembling around her purse. "No one else," she swallowed. I thought I recognized your handwriting from the gala." He folded the map, slipping it into his pocket alongside the rose. "You recognized my handwriting?" Elena nodded, voice barely a whisper. "The loops, the flourish." She swallowed again. "I didn't think it was yours, you seemed so distant." Alex's chest tightened. "You think I'd use my own handwriting to lead you on?" Her cheeks flushed with guilt. "No, only that you might be human." In the hush between them, a ship's horn bellowed in the distance. Alex waited, eyes on the horizon. At midnight exactly, a small skiff pulled into the pier. A solitary figure stepped out, an old man in oilskins, russet beard glowing in the spotlight. He bowed slightly, removed his cap. "Mr. Thorne," the man rasped. "I worked for Catherine Beckett, your fiancée." Alex's heart slammed. "You knew her?" "I, captain of the research vessel Calypso. She vanished at sea." He held out a weathered notebook bound in leather. "She left this for you." Alex accepted it with unsteady fingers. The captain turned to Elena. "And you must be the florist. She spoke highly of your gift for color and secrets." Elena's breath caught as the captain nodded toward her rose in Alex's lapel. "That rose, she drew it here in her final days." Alex cracked the leather binding. Inside, Catherine's neat script filled pages. Sketches of flowers, coded diagrams of ocean currents, and a single sentence scrawled across torn tissue. "Trust Alex with truth." The captain raised his cap. "Find her truth, Mr. Thorne. I've done my part." He climbed back into the skiff, and it vanished into the night. Alex looked at Elena, voice raw. You brought me to this. She met his gaze. I didn't know, I just responded. He folded the notebook, rose petals brushing Catherine's words. Then we proceed together. The next morning, Empire Tech's board convened for an emergency briefing. Alex arrived, rose still in his lapel, eyes ringed with exhaustion but burning with purpose. The CTO projected Catherine's research alongside Empire Tech schematics showing anomalies in maritime data compression algorithms. Board member 1, skeptical, Sir, this is personal. We need to focus on the product launch. Alex set the leather notebook on the table. This is our product. Maritime data is the next frontier. Catherine's work on undersea data transmission could revolutionize global connectivity if we can decode it. Murmurs rippled. Mara Costas leaned close. You'll need expertise outside our network. Alex nodded. Elena Hart, a gasp. The board remembered her boutique sponsorship. One member frowned. A florist? Alex fixed him with a glare. She's the only person I trust with Catherine's handwriting and her floral codes. And she has the maps I need. Later that day, Alex stepped into Petals and Prose. Its warm lamplight and scent of jasmine, a stark contrast to Empire Tech's chrome corridors. Elena paused mid-trim, green pruners in hand. She forced a smile. I didn't expect you here. He offered a curt nod. We have work to do. Her lips trembled. Of course, I'll show you the sketches. They assembled in the back room amid buckets of roses and lilies. Catherine's notebook lay open on the table, alongside Elena's freshly drawn floral charts. Elena pointed at a spiral drawing. This curve corresponds to the Gulf Stream's path. She overlaid a transparent vellum map. Each petal represents a data node. She was hiding coordinates in bouquets. Alex traced her finger. But why hide data this way? Elena, flowers are discreet. No one suspects a florist of espionage. He met her eyes. You're taking a huge risk. She shrugged, cheeks pink. I've never believed in playing small. They worked past midnight for 3 nights, building a grid of ocean currents and undersea cable routes. With every breakthrough, Alex felt his corporate facade crack a little. He laughed once, about a misaligned petal that translated to sleep deprivation, and was startled by how good it felt. On the 4th night, they celebrated with takeout in the boutique's shabby chic lounge. Elena raised a glass of sparkling water. To Catherine's dream and to new allies, she toasted. Alex clinked his water bottle against hers, but didn't smile. To progress, she frowned. You still think this is just business? He pinched the bridge of his nose. Emotions are distractions. Her shoulders tensed. Then why are you here at 3 a.m. working on my floor? Alex hesitated, then turned away to hide the fading hope in his eyes. Because I'm compelled. Elena's face hardened. Compelled by a ghost and a florist's codes, you don't owe me more. She drained her glass and strode out. Alex watched her go, chest tightening with regret. He wasn't sure whether he'd scared her away or protected her from his chaos. The morning after the fallout, marauding engineers discovered an intrusion in Empire Tech's offices, a tiny device crawling beneath a server rack. By the time Mara called Alex, he was already in the boutique, searching for Elena's familiar face. He found her in the front shop, arranging anniversary bouquets. Her hands shook as she tied ribbons. Alex, she whispered, startled. He held up his phone. They found a bug in my servers. Someone tried to reroute maritime data to an offshore account. Elena paled. They knew we were decoding Catherine's work. He scanned her face. And I think they're watching you now. She froze. My boutique. He touched her arm gently. You need to let me protect you. Tears brimmed. I'm not a shield. Alex drew her into a rare embrace. Then let me be yours. Her shoulders relaxed, but her eyes remained brimming with conflict. That night, he invited her to his penthouse under the guise of encrypted data files. The city sprawled beneath them in 1,000 lights. He poured them each herbal tea and closed the curtains. Here, he said, sliding Catherine's notebook across the marble table. We've located the next coordinate. It's here at Venti's Wharf. He pointed to a curve in the code. Elena peered over the pages. You brought me here because... Alex hesitated, then set the notebook aside. Because I want you to meet the real me. Her brow furrowed. The man who lost his fiancée, he swallowed, voice low. and who nearly lost himself. I've spent years hiding. You made me feel something I thought I'd buried. Her throat bobbed. Alex, he closed the gap, cupping her face. I don't expect forgiveness, but I can't pretend you're just an ally. Her eyes glistened with tears. I don't know what to expect. He leaned in, brushing his lips against her temple. I'm learning. Will you teach me? She closed her eyes, the tremor in her hand stilling as she nodded. Over the next week, they alternated between boardroom strategy sessions and late-night floral workshops. Elena taught Alex how to press petals to reveal hidden ink. He showed her how to query databases for signal anomalies. Their worlds collided in tandem, business suits among hydrangeas, spreadsheets amid vases. One evening, Elena found Alex staring at his reflection in the boutique's gilded mirror. He wore a linen shirt instead of a suit, unprecedented. She touched his sleeve. You look different. He shrugged, a shy smile flickering. I'm trying. Her heart warmed. I'm proud of you, he blinked. That means more than any boardroom praise. They closed the shop together, hands brushing on the lock. Outside, the street lamps cast long shadows. Alex paused. Elena, she held up a finger. Wait. She rummaged in her pocket and produced a red rose, slightly wilted at the edges. For you, he took it, lifting it as though it were the rarest gem. Thank you, she smiled. I wanted you to have something living, a reminder that not everything precious is hidden. He pressed the rose against his heart. I promise I'll keep it alive. Their eyes met in the golden lamplight, and for the first time, Alex allowed himself to believe in new beginnings, not just the ghosts of his past. With Catherine's coordinates decoded and the rogue bug traced to a corporate rival, Alex and Elena prepared to reclaim the stolen research. The rendezvous point, Venti's Wharf, where an unmarked container ship would discreetly transfer data cores. The night was moonless when they slipped through shipping containers. Elena wore Alex's oversized jacket. He carried a briefcase with Catherine's notebook tucked inside. As they approached the rendezvous spot, cameras popped to life, security from Empire Tech's board sent to ensure his safety. Alex gave Elena a reassuring nod. The container door creaked open. Inside, a figure emerged, a woman in oilskins, Captain Laurent, Catherine's partner. She held a data core humming with encrypted light. Elena Hart, Captain Laurent greeted, flicking back auburn hair. I assumed the florist would accompany him. She winked, then turned to Alex. Shall we? Alex pocketed the core and nodded. Let's finish this. Outside, the cargo cranes groaned. Elena exhaled, voice small. Is it over? Alex turned to her, eyes soft. Not yet, but we made it this far together. He brushed a patch of hair from her face. I'm glad you stayed. Tears welled as she nodded. I never doubted you. He took her hand. Then let me show you the world beyond flowers. She smiled through tears. Show me. Under the cavernous cranes, their silhouettes mingled, one shaped by steel and code, the other by petals and ink. Between them lay the promise of Catherine's legacy and the fragile bloom of something entirely new. By weaving corporate intrigue, maritime mystery, and the delicate art of floral codes, Alex and Elena's partnership evolves from guarded alliance to heartfelt trust. Each discovery brings them closer, to Catherine's truth, to the saboteurs threatening Empire Tech, and to the possibility that love can grow through even the deepest wounds. As they prepare for the confrontation that will reclaim stolen data, their emotional bond stands as both shield and compass, proof that sometimes the most powerful breakthroughs happen when two worlds collide. The abandoned warehouse at Dock 23 was a cavern of echoing footsteps and dripping water. Moonlight filtered through broken skylights, slicing the darkness into pale slivers. Alexander Thorne and Elena Hart moved in tandem, shadows against corrugated steel walls, each step bringing them closer to the truth and to the danger that lurked here. Alex's coat collar flared in the chill as he nursed the data core in his palm. He'd traced its origins back to a clandestine lab funded by Orion Industries, Empire Tech's fiercest rival. Catherine's research, stolen and twisted into a weapon for corporate sabotage, pulsed with stolen promise. Tonight, he would reclaim it. But more than that, he would confront the nameless threat that had haunted him since the rose first appeared. Elena's breath made little white clouds as she followed his lead, her hand steadied on his arm. "Are you sure this is safe?" she whispered. He gave her a curt nod. "Orion's security is tight, but we've neutralized the data snatch. Now it's time to expose who's behind the hack." He slipped a slender USB key from his pocket, one loaded with Empire Tech's security override protocols, and handed it to her. "Once I draw them out, plug this into their mainframe. It'll trigger a purge of all stolen files." Her eyes widened, then steeled. "Understood." They edged along a catwalk above a massive steel vat, unused, but stained with years of rust. From below came a soft humming, the low drone of an industrial server bank hidden in a side room. Blue LEDs pulsed in the darkness, like a heart under slumber. Alex lowered himself onto a metal ladder and descended without a sound. Elena followed, her floral print skirt whispering against the rungs. At the floor, he gestured toward the server room door. It was unlocked, an invitation or a trap. He drew his phone, switching off all wireless signals. "No comms until it's over." He paused, meeting her gaze. "If anything goes wrong, run to the exit, follow the corridor, and—" Her hand rose. "I'm not leaving you." His chest tightened. "Promise me." Her eyes glistened. "Promise me you'll let me help." He exhaled, the tension in his shoulders easing. "I promise." They pushed the door open together. Inside, the servers lined the walls like silent sentinels. At the far end crouched a figure in dark tactical gear, back turned, working the keyboard. Alex recognized the style of the vest, custom-cut, high-end. This was no casual hacker. This was someone with resources, someone who wanted to break him. Alex cleared his throat. The figure stiffened, spinning around with a gun leveled at their heads. The barrel's cold shine dipped toward Elena first, then locked onto Alex. "Mr. Thorne," a clipped voice said. Beneath the tactical helmet, a familiar tilt of the head, Mara Costa's. Alex's heart stalled. "Mara," she kept the weapon-trained, voice steady. "You're serious about exposing me?" "Elena," Alex hissed, "behind you." But Elena was already whispering, "USB." With trembling fingers, Elena slotted the key into a vacant port. The server LEDs flickered faster. Mara's grin showed no joy. "I never wanted to hurt you, Alex." She edged closer, gun unwavering. "But Empire Tech would have buried Catherine's work. I protected her research by giving it to Orion, where they'll fund it properly." Alex's mind raced. "You betrayed me. You destroyed my company's integrity." Mara shook her head. "I saved her legacy. You would have locked it away in boardroom vaults forever." Elena's eyes darted between them. "This will erase everything they stole," she pleaded. Mara's grip didn't waver. "You don't understand." She fired a shot at the console. Sparks erupted, and the humming servers groaned as circuits overloaded. The purge protocol activated, but also a self-destruct sequence. A red light blazed on the control panel. System override in T-minus 120 seconds. Alex lunged for the gun hand. "Mara, drop it." He wrestled her toward the door. She twisted free, firing another round into the wall. Concrete chunks collapsed, dust swirling in the red glow. "I won't let you destroy Catherine's dream," Mara spat. Alex froze, realizing her conviction mirrored his own. She, too, had loved Catherine, and believed her death demanded radical loyalty. The gun slipped from her grasp as he tackled her to the ground. The weapon skidded across the floor toward Elena. Elena dove for it, but halted as she glanced at Mara's face, ache and desperation etched deep. She stepped back, hands raised. "Stop," Mara looked up, tears streaking through soot on her cheeks. "She trusted me to protect her research." Alex pressed a hand against Mara's shoulder, forcing her still. "We will protect it, together." His stare hardened. "But not this way." The timer counted down. 90, 89, the room pitched in and out of red flashes. Elena reached for the USB key, ripping it from the port. The data core in Alex's pocket pulsed warmly, a living memory. She jammed the key into her purse. "We have the data. The purge is complete. Now let's get out." Mara scrambled to her feet, chest heaving. "You can't trust Orion. They'll bury her work too. They only care about profit." Alex grabbed Mara's arm. "We won't let that happen." He locked eyes with Elena. "Take Mara and get out. I'll shut this down from the main override panel at the other end." Mara shook her head. "No, Alex." "Go," he barked. Elena hesitated, but then pulled Mara toward the door. "Come on," she urged. They sprinted down the corridor as alarms wailed. Alex darted toward the override panel. Heat stung as sparks rained from a severed conduit above. He punched in the emergency code from Catherine's notes, an alphanumeric sequence she'd scrawled in the margins. Echo Delta 49. The server lights dimmed, the red warning light switched to green. System safe. The self-destruct halted. Alex leaned against the console, chest heaving. He cradled the data core in one hand, the leather notebook in the other. The world blurred until the corridor door slammed open behind him, and Elena and Mara stumbled in. Mara's uniform was torn, her face streaked with grime. Elena's grip on Mara's arm was tight, protective. They stood together in the hush that followed the storm. "Elena, you okay?" Alex asked. She nodded, blinking back tears. "We're okay," Mara wiped her face. "I'm sorry." Her voice cracked. Alex stepped between them. He placed a hand on Mara's shoulder and one on Elena's. "This ends tonight." He turned to Mara. "Your loyalty was to Catherine. Mine is to her memory and to the truth." He held up the leather notebook. "We'll publish her research through a public trust. No corporations, no silos." Mara exhaled, relief replacing fear. "Yes, that's what she wanted." Elena pressed against Alex's side. "We did it!" He looked at the two women who had kept Catherine's flame alive in different ways, one through fierce guardianship, the other through empathy and art. And in that moment, he realized Catherine's legacy would endure not in vaults or labs, but in the hearts of those she'd touched. The warehouse lights flickered back to normal white as emergency crews arrived. Sirens wailed outside. Alex retrieved the red rose from his lapel, its petals slightly wilted but still vibrant. He held it out to Elena. She stared, voice trembling. "It's the same rose," he nodded. "It brought me back to life." He paused. "And it brought me to you," Elena's breath caught. He lowered his voice. "I'm done hiding behind power and control. Catherine taught me that vulnerability can drive innovation and love." He offered her the rose. "Will you accept this, not as some code or puzzle, but as my promise?" Her tears spilled over as she took the rose. "Yes." Mara watched them, a soft smile breaking through her weariness. Alex bowed his head to Mara. "Thank you for saving her dream." Mara inclined her head. "Thank you for trusting me." In the warehouse's quiet aftermath, amid sirens, lights, and the hum of rebuilding, a powerful revelation settled in Alex's bones. True breakthroughs come not from isolating oneself in corporate towers, but from opening one's heart to others. The red rose trembled in Elena's hand, its message no longer a cipher but a vow fulfilled. Tonight, Alexander Thorne faced the full consequences of his walls, lost love, shattered trust, and the threat of betrayal. But he emerged not as the unbreakable CEO, but as a man renewed by forgiveness, honesty, and the fragile, fearless power of love. Dawn's first light cut through the warehouse's shattered windows as cleanup crews rolled in. Alexander Thorne, Elena Hart, and Mara Costas stood amid the remnants of tangled cables and upended crates, the night's chaos already fading into memory. In Alex's hand was Catherine's leather-bound notebook, in Elena's, the crimson rose that had guided him here. The trio departed the dock in a quiet convoy of unmarked vehicles. Alex drove the lead car, eyes on the notebook. Mara sat beside him, uncharacteristically subdued. Elena leaned in the back seat, cradling the rose as if it were the world's most precious artifact. They spoke little until Alex pulled onto an overlooking road above the harbor. He parked, turned off the engine, and faced Mara in the passenger seat. "Your actions nearly destroyed me and Empire Tech," he said, voice measured. "But I see now you did it out of love." Mara exhaled. "I lost Catherine too, Alex. I felt powerless. When Orion offered resources to finish her work, I thought I could protect her memory." Alex nodded. "And you did, by reminding me that some legacies aren't meant to be locked away." He held up the notebook. "I'm going to establish the Beckett Data Trust, a nonprofit that will steward Catherine's research openly, fund further study, and share findings with marine scientists worldwide." Mara's eyes brightened. That's exactly what she wanted. He reached across and squeezed her hand. "Thank you for fighting for her." Later that morning, Empire Tech's board convened again, this time under Alex's invitation. Reporters lined the glass-walled conference room, cameras trained on the CEO whose reckoning had become international news. Elena sat off to the side, quiet in a simple dress that echoed her floral world. Mara stood behind Alex, a silent sentinel redeemed. Alex cleared his throat. "I owe you all an explanation." He recounted the hack, the rose, Catherine's reemergence in clues, and Mara's desperate gambit. At each revelation, shutter clicks stuttered, and board members exchanged astonished glances. When he finished, he held up the rose. "This single bloom led me to truths buried deeper than any data vault. It led me to forgive and to chart a new course." He announced the formation of the Beckett Data Trust, Empire Tech's withdrawal from exclusive patent claims, and a collaboration agreement with leading oceanographic institutes. A hush fell, then applause rippled through the room. Reporters raised their hands, video screens flickered. Elena watched Alex beam, vulnerable, triumphant, human. After the press conference, Elena returned to petals and prose to find her mother, Miriam, waiting among turquoise hydrangeas. Elena's hands trembled as she embraced her. Miriam whispered, "He's proud of you, you know." Elena closed her eyes. "I'm proud of myself." That afternoon, she hung a new sign above the boutique, Hart and Thorne Creative Studio. Beneath her name now stood Alex's, "Where data meets design." Together, they would host workshops on botanical coding, storytelling through blooms, and the intersection of art and technology. That evening, Alex returned to his penthouse, empty now, save for the echo of memories. He walked to the grand piano Catherine had once played and lifted its lid. Inside lay a single red rose, carefully pressed and framed at the corner of the keyboard. Catherine's handwriting on the frame. "To Alex, may you always find beauty in the unexpected." He sat on the piano bench, rose in hand, and let the memory wash over him. He closed his eyes, feeling her presence in every note he'd never play. At that moment, his phone buzzed with a text from Elena. "Dinner at 7. I've cooked something new, rose petal risotto." Alex smiled, fingers grazing the keys before he stood and tucked the rose into his jacket. At Hart and Thorne Creative Studio, the following morning buzzed with excitement. Tables were laid with petals, maps, laptops, and notebooks. Students gathered to learn how to encode messages in floral arrangements, how to visualize data through color gradients, and how to tell stories that married heart and mind. Alex stood before the group, nervous in a linen shirt and jeans, alone without a podium. Elena stood beside him, radiant in confidence she barely knew she possessed. He cleared his throat. "Welcome. Today we explore how data and design can transform the world, starting with Catherine's work." He gestured to the first canvas, a mapped tapestry of sea currents overlaid with rose contours. "And how a single red rose can change a life." Elena took his arm, and they began the workshop together. Their laughter mingled, a duet of code and color that echoed out into the sunlit street. That evening, Alex escorted Elena to a rooftop garden he'd arranged, roses climbing trellises, lanterns swaying, soft music drifting. A long table was set for two. He stood at the head, the red rose, fresh, full in his lapel. Elena wore a gown the color of dawn. He took her hand. "From the moment you gave me that rose, I knew my life would never be the same." His voice broke with earnest emotion. "You taught me that vulnerability is not weakness but strength, that love can be the catalyst for every breakthrough." Tears shone in her eyes. "And you taught me to trust in myself and in the possibilities beyond petals." He touched her cheek. "Will you be my partner in business and in life?" Elena's smile blossomed. "Yes." They clinked glasses beneath the stars, their future unfolding like petals in bloom. Elena found Alex the next morning in the studio's back room, tracing Catherine's original sketches against a new design for a public art installation. An illuminated rose mapping ocean currents along the city's waterfront. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "You never stop creating." He looked up, fingers staining the vellum. "Because creation is life. Catherine's work, our workshop, this installation, their threads in a tapestry were just beginning to weave." She leaned her head against him. "And what comes next?" Alex smiled softly, eyes on the sketch. Tomorrow, we unveil the installation to the world, but after that, I don't know, and I love not knowing. Elena chuckled. You, the man who planned every second of his life. He tilted his head. I've learned some moments are meant to surprise you, like a single red rose pressed into your pocket. She reached for the rose pinned at his lapel. That rose started it all. He shrugged playfully. And perhaps it isn't done yet. Elena arched an eyebrow. You're not planning another midnight rendezvous, he grinned. Maybe a sunrise promise instead. She laughed, pulling him toward the open studio doors where early visitors filtered in. Light spilled over them, illuminating the rose's petals like flames. As they stepped into the bustling space, students arranging blossoms, engineers calibrating projection maps, friends greeting them, Alex and Elena shared a look of wonder. Every heartbeat ahead was uncertain, every path uncharted. Yet in the vibrant tableau of their new world, where data and design, logic and love intertwined, they had discovered something profound. That the most powerful breakthroughs arise when you dare to break your own protocols, open your heart, and trust the unexpected. And somewhere in the morning breeze, a single red rose stirred, its petals whispering of promise, adventure, and the endless possibilities of what if.